On this project, we can use our oil pastels or artist crayons, or pull out our watercolors to create this beautiful scene looking out a window. All right, artists, let's begin. All right, masterpiece makers, I got my watercolors, and a paintbrush. You probably will want both of your paintbrushes, your flat and your pointed, to add details. Grab yourself a little piece of Kleenex or even just a tiny bit of toilet paper. This is going to be your eraser, okay? So let's begin. Starting with a sheet of paper, you're going to take that paper and you're going to fold it in half, okay? So most of you already know how to fold a sheet of paper, but let's just go through it together. Edge to edge, and then you press down along the bottom. What I do is I hold the top and do 3 presses along the bottom to give me a gentle fold, and then I go 2 fingers across, back and forth. It doesn't have to be a tight fold because I'm going to end up opening it back up anyway. Okay, up here, this is our background. This is where our window goes. So this is our table. This is our foreground, and our fruit bowl will sit here on the table. Okay, so we have to make a window and have room for people to see out that window. So when I did my last sample, I used most of this top portion as my window. And what I do, because I don't draw with pencil, what I do, because I don't draw straight lines very well, is I used a straight edge. And this is just a sample sheet of paper that I was using for watercolor. And I'm going to use this to trace. It's okay to use tools to help you, especially when you know that you have a challenge on something. And I know that I have a challenge with straight lines, even with a ruler. Of course, you could use a ruler. Please go get one if you need to. Or you could be one of these people who is amazing at drawing straight lines. Whatever you need to do, get yourself a nice big frame, a window frame, that fills up most of the top of your sheet of paper. And you notice I still have crooked lines, and I'm okay with that, okay? All right, now in here is going to be the scene that shows everybody where this house is, where this room is. So I have to decide what season. I have to decide what I want people to see as they look out the window. Now there's 2 ways when you look out a window. There's 2 things that you can see. You can see really clearly, or it can seem really blurry. So looking out the window here, it's pretty clear. You can see their door and their bushes and their windows. It's pretty clear. And when you look out at something, out a window at something, and it's fairly clear, do you know what that's called? Is it translucent or is it transparent? Transparent is Latin for shining through. That means you can see clearly. Transparent. Clearly. Translucent means that I can still see the light, I can still see things, but it's not as clear. This looks like it's either a fuzzy day, a foggy day, or the window's not quite clear. It's soft, right? So this would be a translucent image out the window. It's soft. So you have to decide, do you want it to be nice and crisp and clear and transparent? Or do you want it to be soft and loose? And that's translucent. For this picture, I think that I'm going to make it translucent. So it's not going to be really crystal clear. I'm going to help my paintbrush with pencil lines. I'm going to make them light. I will make them darker than I would normally make them because I want you to see them on camera. So I'm actually going to use a darker pencil, but you just use your yellow, okay? So I am going to create a horizon line that's mountains, okay? I'm going to make a second line. That's going to be the tree line. I'm going to make a third line. That's the meadow. And then I'm going to make a line that's a little bit closer to the window. Maybe that's some bushes or something. That's landscape material that's a little closer to the window. So I'm framing it out. Can you see that okay? So those are my loose lines that are going to remind my paintbrush the different areas that I get to paint in. All right. While I have my pencil out, I'm going to work on my table as well. Now my table's down here, and my fruit bowl is going to sit on my table. And I want my fruit bowl to sit on the table, and I don't want it just to be a plain old table. I think I want a tablecloth. And so I like to paint. So I want to make shapes that I can paint in. So I am making some lines on my tablecloth. And in those lines, I'm going to add some shapes that I can paint in. So can you see the circles I'm drawing and the lines I'm drawing? I'm giving my paintbrush some ideas on what I can do to paint in. Okay. All right, that's it for the pencil. Let's move on to the paintbrush. So I'm going to start in the background, further away from me. That way I don't put my hand while I'm painting. If I paint this first, I end up putting my fist on it and then I make a mess. So starting with it further away, I am going to, because I am making it translucent, not seen as easy, I get to take advantage of watercolor. Watercolor is translucent. It's supposed to be painted so that you see the paper through it. So see what I'm doing? Where's my color? I'm painting with water right now. I'm filling up this top space, which will be my sky, with water. I'm outlining it and filling it in. And you probably can see a little bit of the shine, okay? Skies are typically blue unless it's a sunset. Let's make it a sunset. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I'm going to say the sun is going down right here. Do you see what's happening? It's my favorite part of watercolor. So fun. Just letting the sky fill with color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Adding more pigment. Do you see it just kind of grows up? That water. And it's filling the space with color. Now I'm rinsing my brush off camera. This is just my water. I'm just rinsing it off. I'm going to add some red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's see what happens with the red. I'm going to put the red up here. There's a little puddle of water at the top here. So I'm going to tip my paper and just let those two colors blend. Do you see? I'm going to push the pigment over to the places I want it to be. I don't want my sky to have any white. Today, I want my sky to be filled with the color of sunset. All right, I'm rinsing my brush off. I'm going to go with some yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to fill in the yellow. I'm just putting some dots here and there of the yellow. And it's not very vibrant. See, I want to do it again. Okay? So I'm going to add some more orange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to add some more orange. There we go. I have the most beautiful sunsets where I live. How about you? Do you have beautiful sunsets? I'm always amazed. I always peek out each night to see. All right. I'm going to add that red again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Add some red. It's blending in. Okay. All right. I'm going to let that dry. Do you see how bumpy it's getting? If I put any more water on it, it's going to get so saturated, it's going to start blending off the paper. So I'm going to leave that alone. Now remember with watercolor, if I was to paint right now, if I was to paint my mountains, the orange and the red would just bleed right into the mountains. And sometimes that's fun, but right now I wanted my mountains to be a purpley. So I'm going to skip my mountains right now and go to this tree line. I'm going to paint with water in my tree line. And you can see some of my pencil graphite kind of gets into where I'm painting with water. That's why you want to draw light, okay? I have to draw dark so that you can see what I'm doing. Draw light. Do you see the shine? Okay. So this is a tree line that is 2, 3, 4, 5. That is evergreen trees. And this is a very bluey green on the horizon line, And do you notice I'm just kind of pushing the pigment up against my pencil line? I'm not perfect, I'm not precise. I'm just giving the impression that's the top of the trees. Okay, so there's my tree line. If I was to paint right here, the tree line would blend in with this meadow. Actually, I don't mind that because I wanted my meadow to have a little bit of different colors of green. So let me show you what happens and do it intentionally. So I'm going to get water here. Already, the tree line color is starting to hit the meadow. It's starting to blend in. And that's wonderful because that's what I wanted it to do. I'm letting the watercolor work for me. Watch what happens. I'm going to pick up some of this. It's a yellow, more of a yellow green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've got some pigment on my brush. And I'm just going to let it do its thing. Let the water carry it where the water's going to carry it. Okay, you can do what a lot of artists do and move the paper around. Look what's happening at the top. Move the paper around so that the water and the pigment kind of move around as you go. Or you can just let it do what it's naturally going to do. I want to fill in some of that space with more color. Okay, so I really like how that looks. What do you think? How's yours coming along? All right, so these bushes in the front, again, they're going to be a shade of green. So I'm okay with that green mixing with this green. So I'm actually going to pick up that same color green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I am going to make a new color green. Okay, you need to have your palette available. I sometimes use the lid of my paint box. Okay, so I'm putting the color down. Then I'm going to pick up a little bit more yellow. I didn't rinse my brush off enough. Now I made my yellow a little bit green. So what am I going to do? Right now I want to pick up that and clean off my yellow. I'm running out of yellow because I do that too often. Rinse your brush off. Okay, so now I have a more of a yellow green. Let's see, is it yellowy enough? I don't think so. I'm going to rinse my brush really good this time and pick up some yellow and put it in my green. And I end up with that chartreuse. Let's see if that's the color I want. That's the color I wanted. Okay, and I'm going to just push it up against the other green line. And this time I didn't get my paper wet. Did you notice that? I didn't. So I'm putting wet on dry. It gives me a little more control. It helps me to fill in the space. I'm going to add a little bit more pigment. All right, that sky looks like it's on fire. It's beautiful. All right, I'm going to rinse my brush off. I still need to let my orange sky dry before I try to do my purple mountains. Because if you've ever tried, purple and orange make a muddy color, which sometimes works really well. But today is not what I wanted. So I'm just going to gently push it up so that I can work on my table while that dries. With watercolor, you have to be patient and let things dry before you go back in and add more color. All right, so my table, I'm going to paint with water on all these big stripes. And I'm thinking as I'm painting with the water, what color I want to fill in these spaces. And I'm really kind of feeling like purple. Do you like purple? I love the purple on these palettes. So there's my purple. It's a very dark purple. So I put some water in it. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to just add that purple, which actually looks kind of pink. 3, 4, 5. To the middle of my stripe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put that over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, do you notice that I have a sheet of paper underneath my painting? so that if I paint off the paper, I don't end up on my tablecloth, because we don't want to paint on our tablecloths. We want to paint on our paper, and if it happens to go off, we want to paint on the scratch paper underneath. Okay, make sure that you do that. I'm going to grab some blue and use purple and blue as my tablecloth. Let's see if I paint my polka dots blue, what will happen? So, blue polka dots on my tablecloth. I'm going to make this one a little darker blue. Okay, I have blue on my brush right now. Blue is what I wanted my mountains to be. So I'm going to take the blue off my brush and add it to the gray that I already had on my palette to make a new color. I'm going to add a little bit more water because I want it to be translucent. You can see through it. Okay, it's pretty much dry. So I'm going to go ahead and try to paint this. It's not completely dry. So what happens if it accidentally blends? Well, I teach you how to fix a mistake or work with a mistake. Okay. So I'm going to let the blue go a little bit over the green of the trees. I'm trying to avoid the orange. And the mountains can have a little bit of white on the edges. That can be the snow. All right, done. So this needs to dry and that needs to dry before I can add the window frame. Because right now it could be just a picture on the wall. It could be, right? If it was just a picture on the wall and not a window frame, it was a picture at Grandma's house and this is the tablecloth and that's the picture on the wall, then what could I do to make it look like a picture instead of a window frame? Yeah, just make a frame around it. So I could use brown and black and make a wood frame. Or I could use gray and make a gray like metal frame. Or I can let it dry and come back and put some curtains on it. All right, so now I've done the translucent window that you can look out of, but it doesn't quite look like a window to me. If you want to leave it like this, feel free to do so. But I'm just thinking, maybe if I get out some of my artist crayons, I could add some details to make this window, this picture, look more like a window. Now, when I did this project, just using my oil pastels, I went ahead and made those window panes that you see in some windows. And to me, that looks like I'm looking out the window. So I think I want to try that here. I'm going to carefully use my pencil lines, and I'm going to divide this into thirds. So me and my straight lines, I'm going to do my very best to use my tool to make my straight line. And I'm going to use a tool over here. That's about a third right there. How could you make thirds? You could measure it and use your ruler, right? And that's not quite thirds. It's not equal thirds. I'm okay with a little bit more in the middle. And then I'm going to use the edge here to make my straight line. Uh-oh, I moved it. Make my straight line go across the middle. Okay, so if I added curtains, the top and the bottom here, and a curtain rod up here with curved lines to show that it was a rounded curtain rod, that might make it look more like a window. So I'm going to try that. So the window, I'm going to use this darker brown. And I have to draw straight lines again. So I'm going to grab my tool and pull down towards me. Do it over here. Pull it down towards me. I'm going to go across the middle. Make sure it's straight, best I can. Okay. Okay. And then along the edge, because the window is framed with wood, and this is my wood window frame. I'm trying to make sure that I do the line straight and press firm enough the first time because it's hard to go over it a second time. And I'm rotating my paper so that it makes it easier for me to pull. The oil pastel towards me. Okay, that seems more like a window to me. Now, to make it really look more like there's glass there, I could put a couple lines here, like the light is reflecting off the glass. Some people do that. You see it in comic books too, where they'll put that reflection mark. All right, what color should I make the curtains? The tablecloth's purple and blue. So let's make the curtains blue. Okay, so I make squiggly lines to represent the fabrics being pushed over. Squiggly at the bottom, squiggly at the top, and straight lines going down, or somewhat straight lines going down. Okay. Then I said I was going to put some of the curved lines for the curtain rod. It goes across the top. To help my brain think, oh, there's something across the top that's holding up those curtains. And now that I have my oil pastels out, I can have some fun making more designs. There we go. All right. The one problem I usually have when I do art is I have so much fun that I just keep filling it up and then it gets overworked. So I'm going to say stop. And I'm going to show you how to cut your pop-up. Okay? All right. I'm now going to fold it over. All the paint is dry. I'm going to fold it over and I'm going to cut some slits to make my shelf for my pop-up. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to make a slit going down this way, and I need to make one the same distance across so that they're cut the same length. And that becomes the shelf. That becomes that little shelf right there. Did you see that pop up? Okay. And once you know how to do this, you can do more than one per page. And you can add a couple elements that pop up. So much fun. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up and let you see. Do you see the slits? So I'm pushing my finger through the slits. And there it is. I need this to pop this way, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it towards me and then take the paper and encourage the paper to press back down. I'm closing it back up again. And then I'm going to make a crease right here. So I'm pressing it down. I'm going to open it back up, and it already wants to stand up for me. Isn't that nice? I love it. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So where are you going to put your fruit bowl? I'm putting this fruit bowl on it because the polka dots match the table. I'm not putting the fruit bowl on the top. I'm putting it at the front. And the reason is when we glue it and we close it and we open it back up, the fruit bowl stays right there. Isn't that fun? Can you imagine what else you could do? What if you wanted to make a card for somebody that you loved and you wanted to give them flowers? You could close it and open it. It would pop up flowers for them. Or if they love tea, you could make a little teacup. There's so many things that you can do. It's so much fun. I'm going to continue to have fun playing with this, and I hope that you will too. Please be sure to send me pictures of your creations. Make sure you ask a grown-up to snap a photo of your picture. You could be in it too, if your grown-up's okay with that. And your name and your age, and we'll put it in the Masterpiece Gallery and let everyone see the artist that you are. Thanks for joining me. Come back soon.